All right, welcome back to another. So you want to lead a party? Today we're going to do it a little bit different. Usually we do two characters. Today we're doing one. First off, I'm Ragan.
I'm Nate.
Yeah, I forgot my Midwestern hospitality there for a second. I did not introduce myself. I did not ask you how you were doing. I did not offer you a beverage. Would you like a beverage, Nate?
I'm good.
You're good?
I appreciate that.
Okay. Are you comfortable?
I am comfortable,
Okay.
and I'm sorry that another Midwesterner. I'm sorry that you felt the need to have to do that.
Sorry that you have to apologize for me for forgetting my manners. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Let's go for an 8-hour drive, because that's another Midwestern thing.
Yes. Let's fry some dairy products, man. Whew. It is not a fair unless you have fried some products. All right. So let us tell you who we're looking at today. All right. First, I'm going to have my dragonfly because, I can. Again, this is courtesy Vimeo. But yes, there's that beautiful dragonfly for So You Want to Lead a Party? Today we are going to do Cleopatra. Cleopatra is one of those historical figures that it really is a combination of myth and some truth. Basically, this is what happened. When the first historians during that time period were looking at Cleopatra, they were looking at it through the lens of she messed with the Roman Empire. It wasn't until a Greek historian came in, because Cleopatra is from a Greek family, that you started to get a little bit more of the story. So essentially, this is what happened. In about 323 BCE, Alexander the Great was taking over the entire known world. And one of his buddies, Ptolemy the First, he was like, here is Egypt. Now, Egypt at that time wasn't just the country Egypt. It also included other parts of the Middle East, I believe Syria, and a few other places. So it was a pretty substantial empire. Now, because Ptolemy the First, Ptolemy the First, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Ptolemy.
I think so. Yeah. Ptolemy.
Right. The first, the family Macedonian Greeks, what happened is that when they took over this country, this empire, they were essentially placed in a position of deity. They had to take on that persona of deity. Also, it looks like, from looking at the history, that with every boy being named Ptolemy and so many of the women being named Cleopatra, it starts getting a little bit confusing of who is who. But essentially what it looks like when I was doing the research, and Nate, if you want to correct me, it almost felt like House of Targaryen. Because Ptolemy I want to say the 10th, who was Cleopatra, the Cleopatra that we're going to talk about, Cleopatra the 7th, her father, it looks like her mother, Cleopatra the 6th, was his half-sister. And then she disappeared. Then Ptolemy the 10th's daughter, Bernice, I said that correctly, Bernice, not a name you're expecting here.
N-I-S-E, yep.
Yeah, pushed her father out, and he and Cleopatra ran to Rome, and basically Ptolemy the 10th just gave Egypt over to Rome. Essentially, he put it up as collateral for the Romans to come and help him dethrone his daughter. And then Ptolemy and Cleopatra were co-rulers. Ptolemy the 10th died. We believe of natural causes. Again, this family, there's so much infighting and everything. It very much feels Game of Thrones. Like it was the original Game of Thrones.
It's wild.
It is wild. But then Cleopatra, married her brother, Ptolemy the 11th, who was 8 years younger than her. So she was like 18, he was 10. His advisors got him to kick her out. She goes away, brings into a mercenary group. And it just so happens at this time that Caesar is hunting down Pompey, who ran to Egypt for protection. Pompey was killed because the Egyptians aren't going to, the Ptolemaic dynasty is not going to mess with Rome because basically they owe Rome a lot of money. So you don't tick off your bookie. You don't tick off your bookie. All right. If you know nothing from this, don't tick off your bookie. Here it is. She was the last of the Ptolemaic rulers in Egypt. So when she was co-ruling with her brother, Ptolemy the 11th, she got a mercenary army. They started having a civil war. Caesar came in because he's like, no, we can't have this because I need your help to take control over Rome. So let's work this out. Ptolemy the 11th didn't want to work it out. So he got dealt with. And that's when Cleopatra the 7th took control. That's also when she had her son, Caesarion, who we very much believe is the son of Caesar. I don't know if he acknowledged the son or not. So now there's another brother, Ptolemy the 12th. But because Cleopatra has a son, she kills her brother, Ptolemy the 12th, and her younger sister, she banishes from the country, and she becomes co-ruler with her infant son, Caesarion. Now, Caesar is dead, and a triumvirate takes over. I know, this is why we're only doing one character, because this one character is so much information. Okay, so now in Rome, there's a triumvirate. So there's Octavian, there's Mark Antony, and there's some other dude. I don't know his name.
LOATHES.
Anyway, we don't need to care about him because
they didn't care about him either. They kicked him out.
Right. Because it's really between Octavian and Mark Antony. Octavian was the adopted son of Caesar because Caesar and his wife Calpurnia never had children. So Caesar took Octavian as his ward, or as his heir.
His Robin.
Yes, exactly. It is his Robin. Okay, Caesar is Batman, Octavian is Robin. So then Mark Antony, for Octavian's viewpoint, I guess is the Joker. So, yeah. So
that kind of fits, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, there were a bunch of battles, and Cleopatra decided to support the Roman triumvirate and fell in love with Mark Antony. Now, historically, it is believed that they did actually fall in love with each other. But again, you don't know, because it could have been a it worked out for both of them in power. But here comes the problem. Octavian had Mark Antony marry his younger sister, Octavia the Younger. And they had 2 children after Mark Antony had twins with Cleopatra. And then Mark Antony is in battle for 3 years, and he kind of pushes aside his wife, Octavia, which Octavian's like, no, you don't get to embarrass my sister. I don't play that game. And Mark Antony said, what you gonna do about it? And Octavian said, I'm gonna kick your butt. And Mark Antony said, bring it on. And Octavian did kick their butt. And Mark Antony committed suicide. It's believed that he fell on his sword because he had heard that Cleopatra had been killed and being captured. So now it's becoming very Romeo and Juliet, which I will say is my least favorite Shakespearean play. It bothers me. It vexes me to my core, like Ricardo Montalban as Khan, where he's like, he vexes me. Yeah, and we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, my least favorite one. But again, also Shakespeare did write a play about Mark Antony and Cleopatra. But moving forward, Cleopatra, she refuses to be marched through Rome as a prize. So she commits suicide. But before she commits suicide, she tries to send her son Caesarion away because she knows that Octavian is going to kill her son. Well, Octavian tricks Caesarion into coming back and kills him. Now, the 3 children that she had with Mark Antony are now with his sister Octavia. And the only one that we know about is her daughter, Celine, yeah, it means son or something like that, I believe. Celine, yes. She was married to a ruler on the continent of Africa. I'm not really sure which empire, but she did marry into that, and she did help co-rule. The other 2 children, we don't know. All right, having said all of that, that is Cleopatra. Yes.
That was awesome, Ragan. That was awesome. That was so good.
And next time, you know what I need? I need like little dolls and stuff. And then I go, she said no. And then they said, and then.
I know what you're going to do.
I know. I really should. I should have dolls for that. Okay. So before we get into Cleopatra, Nate and I thought that we would continue talking about how to build your character. So last time we talked about race, and we also talked about class. And you can choose whatever race you want. You can choose whatever class you want. And in fact, you can actually, depending on if you meet all the markers, do something called multi-classing, where your person can be one race, but it can be 2 different classes. And you've seen Nate and I do that a couple of times. So now we're going to talk about the next big thing that you have to choose. And that is your ability scores. So it's not always the next thing, depending on how you build your character. But I'm saying it's the next thing here because it's one of those big factors that plays throughout the game. So like when I'm building my characters in D&D, first I have to choose race, then I have to choose class. And as I'm going through choosing my class, it's asking me to choose other things like, help me out here, Nate. I'm kind of drawn out after explaining Cleopatra.
Sure.
As you're choosing class, there are other things that it'll ask you. And I can't remember what all those are right now off the top of my head. Let me go to my sheet.
Yeah, I mean, there's, so you've got race, class, you've got background, which informs your role playing to some degree. It also may give you proficiency in some skills, where you can add a little bonus to, if you're trying to notice something, or if you're trying to find something in a room, your DM will say, in all likelihood, okay, make an investigation check. Yeah. And if your character is proficient in investigation, then you're able to roll your die, and whatever number comes in, you can add your proficiency plus, so that you can basically get a bonus to help you do better on that investigation check. So that background, choosing your background, can help you figure out which skills you want to be proficient in. What you envision, that can inform how your vision for the character.
Exactly. So like right here, what you're seeing is that as I'm choosing my class, right now, this particular character, this is my Christina Evans. Again,
Oh, yeah.
yes, I think you know which actor I based that character off of. The hit points are already calculated for me, thankfully, because I'm just going to tell you this much. I have it right here. I've been reading these books. Yes, I've been reading these books and the math to figure out some of this stuff. I'm like, what just happened? And I like math. And I'm sitting here like, I don't understand this. But it calculates my hit points for me. And as you can see, my max hit points right now at level 6 are 38. So I can't take a lot of hits, but I can take some. What proficiencies I want to have. So what do I want to be proficient in? I chose investigation and religion because I am a wood elf wizard. So those were the two things that I wanted to put an emphasis on, as it were. I wanted to be proficient in that. And then, so the next part is, the next part that we're going to talk about today are the ability scores. So as Nate and I were talking, certain classes will allow you to increase your ability score faster than some other classes. So it really depends. So like we were just looking at the fighter versus the rogue, and the fighter gets more opportunities to increase their ability score versus a rogue. But these little circles down here that you see, those are the ability scores. So you'll see that because I'm a wood elf wizard, I'm putting more emphasis on intelligence because that's where my power is coming from. As Nate has said another time, the wizard is getting it from studying. So think Harry Potter. Sorcerer is getting it from something that is in their bloodline. Yes. So think more like Yennefer of Vigaba. Yeah, she already had that in her bloodline. The Witcher. Yeah. Oh, okay.
The Witcher. I'm a bad nerd.
It's okay. It's okay. I watch and then you watch other things. That's how we help each other. We can't watch it all, Nate.
I'm watching Doom Patrol.
Yes.
We're good.
See?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we cover each other. So that's where I put the emphasis on. But then if you look at my other character, Benoit Cumbersnatch, my emphasis is on strength and constitution because I'm a fighter. So because I'm a fighter, I've got to really be good at, well, I'm a gunslinger. So I've got to have those really good aim with the shots. And that's where my power is coming from, is from my strength. All right. Did I miss anything? Oh, I did. The squares.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The modifiers.
Yes. So your ability scores affect what are called your modifiers. So as you mentioned earlier, where your DM is saying rolling for investigation. All right. So then you're looking at your modifier for investigation. So as you can see for Benoit Cumbersnatch, my modifier for investigation is 0 because my intelligence ability score is so low. So my modifier is low. But Christina, if I had to roll for investigation, my modifier is a +6. So that means I roll my dice, I add 6 to whatever that roll is, and it increases my chances of being able to perceive whatever's in the room because I put a lot of emphasis on my intelligence ability score. So that ability score affects your modifier, affects your ability to do certain actions in the game.
A big part of that actually is your proficiency bonus too.
Yes.
So you might have seen that proficiency box off on the side there next to movement. But that is another thing that you can add to basically add to that dice roll to help you do better. If it were just your intelligence, like if you were rolled I rolled a nat 20 then just then, so that was fine. Yeah, that was good. Higher numbers are generally good.
Yes, this is not golf.
No,
this is not golf.
So that proficiency bonus goes up with your character level as well.
Yeah.
Every couple of levels, it goes from like 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, to a maximum of 6 at level 20.
Yeah. Now, I did see something, and it started confusing me, where I guess for monsters, they can actually go up, some of them to 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically what that means is that some of these monsters are hardcore and very difficult to defeat. So what makes D&D a lot of fun is that no character is going to be proficient in everything. That's an impossibility. So that's why when you're working with your group, you kind of see where you fit in with your team, and then you kind of pick and choose based on that. And that's why when I'm creating these characters, I don't know how you feel about it, Nate, but it's kind of like, I don't know what to pick for some of these things because I'm not playing a game. But if it was just a standalone character, this is what I would pick.
Mm-hmm. I tend to choose what character I want to make based to some degree on what the party or what the group of players has already had in mind.
Yeah.
Because I tend to want to cover I don't want to take the spotlight from anybody. If somebody wants to be the divine sword slinging hero, I'm happy to be the skulky rogue.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm happy to check in with people. I tend to like to check in with people first and just be like, hey, what are you thinking about in terms of your character? Maybe sometimes you can build characters that have a history together. But typically the adventuring party tends to fall out to like a main caster, a cleric to do some healing, a rogue to do some sneaking and scouting, and a fighter equivalent character to, to bust some heads.
Exactly. See, so Nate right there is very Midwestern. How's everybody else? I'm going to fit in with everybody else. I'm very Chicago, and it's like, I will be this character, and you'll like it.
I will win this party.
and that's why Nate and I do well. Yes. All right, Nate, are you ready to unleash your Cleopatra?
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Here we go. Okay, so let's get a little crazy.
Oh,
all right. So
Antony. Okay.
I did do an Antony. Yes. Speaking of parts that complement each other.
Yes.
So, oh man, Cleopatra is so interesting.
Yes.
She's so interesting, and she's a the perception of her, the mythos surrounding her as a person is just so complicated. You can tell a lot about a person and about a historian by how they think of a particular individual who didn't really fit a particular mold easily.
Yeah.
In time, you know what I mean? Cleopatra, due to her, you mentioned before, sort of hinting at some degree of likely inbreeding in her family,
because it does bring a question. Okay, because the family, she was the only one that learned the language at that time that was spoken in what we now call Egypt.
The Coptic language.
Right, the Coptic language. She was the only one in that entire dynasty that learned that. Mm-hmm. She basically, yeah. Please continue. I've lost my train of thought.
That's okay. She's a huge subject, right?
Yes.
So what do you do? What do you do with her? So when reaching for what kind of class, I initially went with a wild magic sorcerer. But that just seemed a little too, I've made a lot of casters out of leaders recently. So I thought something that would be interesting would be a rogue that can cast spells. I decided to make her an arcane trickster.
Okay.
So she is able to sneak, essentially. She casts spells with her intelligence, like a wizard does. She has access to illusion and enchantment spells from the wizard spell list. She can't heal unless she finds some other ways to do so, like healing potions or something to that effect. She is able to, with being a rogue, she's got, her skills are very, very important. Rogues are the masters of skills. They're very sneaky. They can deceive. They can know their history. They can investigate and perceive very well. They also get something called expertise, meaning that that proficiency bonus that I mentioned earlier, when rogues have expertise in a skill, that proficiency bonus gets doubled. So something that calls, say, an investigation check, like we mentioned earlier. If you were proficient in, if you just had proficiency and not expertise in investigation, this would be a +10 in investigation.
Okay.
So with that doubled, however, with that proficiency bonus doubled, that's now +12. So 12 plus 4, your intelligence modifier, because your investigation keys off your intelligence, gives you a +16 to that skill. So the lowest you can possibly roll is a 17. So if you nat 1, right? If you roll a die. Anyway, that's fun with skills. I kind of like skilled characters, clearly.
Yeah.
She's, as an arcane trickster, she's able to cast up to 4th level spells per day. She knows these spells, so she cannot prepare different ones. Kind of like how a sorcerer or a bard or a warlock only knows their spells. They can't switch them out at the top of every day, like a cleric or a wizard, or an artificer. I gave her spells that would be helpful, like find familiar, where she can get a little friend, like a little animal friend, like a flying poisonous snake or something. Silent image, which is an illusion spell, disguise self, invisibility, misty step, which is basically a short teleport in case she's in trouble, mirror image, shadow blade, so she can stab better. She can fly, major image, greater invisibility, where attacking does not give away your position, essentially. Stone Shape, you mentioned Stone Shape last week, which is an insanely useful spell to have.
It really is. You run into so many castles in D&D. I was not expecting that. I was expecting, you know, a very nicely appointed ranch style home or something like that. But they have castles.
No drywall.
I know, right? So
another fun thing that arcane tricksters get to do is they can use the cantrip Mage Hand, where a floating spectral hand appears and you can manipulate it.
Yep.
With the arcane trickster, they basically can do tricks with it. So when you can make the spectral hand invisible, you can perform the following additional tasks with it. You can stow one object in that the hand is holding in a container worn or carried by another creature. You can retrieve an object in a container worn or carried by another creature. You can use thieves' tools, which is like basic safe cracking stuff, to pick locks and disarm traps at range. You can perform one of these tasks without being noticed by a creature if you succeed on a dexterity, sleight of hand check contested by the creature's wisdom check. In addition, you can use the bonus action granted by your cunning action to control the hand. So basically, she can sneak stuff onto your person or off of your person using a magic hand. I decided to give her proficiency in the Poisoner's Kit. In addition to thieves' tools, I gave her the noble background. I decided not to make her chaotic or evil or good necessarily. I decided to make her right smack in the middle, a true neutral, where she could be counted on to make the best possible decision for herself first. Right? With the noble background, these are the traits that I felt resonated with her. My favor, once lost, is lost forever. Blood runs thicker than water, so family is the most important. My house's alliance with another noble house must be preserved. Paging Julius Caesar and the Julii, right? I hide a truly scandalous secret. What if Caesarion is not, in fact, Caesar's son? That could be a fun role play thing.
They actually played with that on that TV show Rome.
Where it was Titus Pullo's kid.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's a fun character.
He is.
Other stuff. So starting at 9th level, if you're hidden from a creature, when you cast a spell on it, it has disadvantage on any saving throw. So that's the magical ambush feature. At 13th level, you gain the ability to distract targets with your mage hand. As a bonus action, you can designate a creature within 5 feet of the spectral hand created by the spell. Doing so gives you an advantage on attack rolls against that creature until the end of the turn. And then at 17th level, you can steal the knowledge of how to cast a spell from another spellcaster.
Wow.
So that's the spell thief feature. I thought that this is a fun character. Not exactly as versatile or flashy as a bard.
Right.
Not exactly as scary or edgy as a warlock.
Right.
Still, I wanted her to be skilled enough because she rolled for 21 years.
Yes, she did.
Right.
Which was quite long, considering that it was a family that would, you know, kill each other.
Yeah. Allegedly.
No,
they did. You're right. You're totally right.
They did.
Yeah, so that is Cleopatra as I see her, as an arcane trickster rogue. Whenever she stabs too, she still gets that sneak attack damage. Gotta love that sneak attack damage. So there she is.
All right, very cool. Yeah. And I just remembered where I just went blank, where we were talking about there seemed to be some possibility of inbreeding. So yeah, from what I understand, the ruling party kind of separated themselves from the people that they were ruling. So it is a question of where the spouses were coming from. So it does kind of seem like it was in the family, maybe somebody came from Greece or somebody came from Rome, but yeah, there may have been some inbreeding, which actually was not unheard of at that time, because we call it inbreeding. They would not have called it that. And so
Right.
I'm learning that words that we have today, we cannot place onto people from before. For example, one debate that's happening that's actually really interesting is when the word gay came out. So from that point forward, someone can be identified as gay. But before that point, can you identify someone as gay? Because
Right.
that word did not exist. So you have to use the words in the context of what they exist. So that's why I'm making that kind of point there. All
Yeah,
right.
I think I brought that up too, because I started to say that the sort of weirdness around inbreeding is the medium likelihood of some kind of detrimental, quote unquote, mental illness being passed down through the generations.
Right.
And that certain portrayals of Cleopatra have portrayed her as like chaotic and like erratic and maybe given to some weird mood shifts, things like that.
Right.
And I initially went there in terms of what kind of class she was going to be, but then I was like, hold up, let's pull back a little bit and really think about the skills that she would have needed to use in order to rule.
Right. I think also part of that with the whole, let's paint her this way, she was a female.
Yes.
She was ruling this empire and gaining more power at a time where, yes, women did have power, but not that kind of power. She was considered moving out of where her sex was supposed to be. So again, that's where you have to like really be careful with a lot of these historical figures, because like you said earlier, it depends on who you're reading about. And so that's why, again, yeah, we just did one. Well, I did one and then you did one-ish. But here is
1.75.
Yes. This is my Cleopatra. She is a Yuan-ti pureblood rogue / bard. So,
Snake.
yes, the Yuan-ti are an ancient race that existed before the humans, and they were serpent-like humanoids. Now, I did that because of the legend of her taking an asp, a snake, and having it to her breast to poison her. Again, nobody knows how, well, historically, we don't know how she committed suicide. We just know that she did commit suicide. And I made her a multi-class of rogue and bard. She has the charm. She also has the stealth and the intelligence, because she could have just walked away after her brother took over. She could have just gone to Rome and just called it a day, but she didn't. She came back and she knew what to do to get her throne back. For her, I really pushed up the charisma and the dexterity. Dexterity because she's a rogue. She's got to be able to get in and out, you know, the stealth and everything like that. Charisma, that's where the power of the bard comes from. Her hit points are kind of low, 123. So she's not a tank, but problem is you would probably send her in first because her initiative is a +8. So she's the scout more so than the tank, like a cleric.
She also can dodge and evade, you know, like rogues are mobile. That's just don't stand in one place the whole time.
Right. They're very mobile, but also because she has the bard part, she has spells. So with her spells, I had a little fun with this. So of course, there's always going to be prestidigitation and mage hand. The first time I ever used mage hand, I think I used it to tap one of the bad guys on the shoulder to make him think that his buddy had done something to him to start a fight. And it actually worked.
Awesome.
Dancing
distraction.
Yeah. Dancing lights, you know, a lot of these are distractions or things to keep people kind of at bay. Where I went further into this, charm person, comprehend languages. She spoke a lot of different languages. She really did. She was very multilingual. And again, that goes to that intelligence and that ability to know how to get people to your side. Dissonant whispers. This is where she whispers something to a target. And if I remember correctly, hold on, let me move our heads. You whisper to a target and it causes them pain. Even on a successful throw, if I see this here correctly, I think she can still cause damage. Even
on a failed save, it takes 3d6 psychic and must immediately use its reaction to run away from you. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage and doesn't
but they don't have to move away. So with this particular character, even if the character that she's attacking is successful in their throws, her spells still cause damage to them. Detect thoughts, I thought was going to be a fun one. She can detect the immediate thoughts, so that makes her really good at interrogation. It also makes her good at being able to predict what another character is about to do. So again, that's that I could get out of the way kind of thing. Bestow Curse, I kind of liked because that can damage your hit points for that character. Enemies Abound, you throw that at another character and they can't tell the difference between friend or foe. So basically, they just attack whatever's closest to them. So that was really fun. Lehman's Tiny Hut, you could put this, not hut, but this protective dome around you and a total of 9 medium characters, and you can make it opaque so you can hide in there. So your characters can go in and out, but nothing else can come in. And so it's a great thing to protect you and yours. Let's see.
Polymorph.
Yes. So she can change other characters into something, and I don't think it has to be willing either. Yeah, an unwilling creature must make a wisdom save.
You can turn somebody into a chicken or a rat. Like,
right. So let's say, for example, you've got this character coming at you and they're kind of big. You can hit them with the polymorph and just really hope that they fail that throw. But if you look at the wisdom saving throw, it has to be a 19. Yeah. So what that means is that they roll it, and depending on their wisdom modifier, like you see, my wisdom modifier is 0. So I would have to roll a 19 or a nat 20 to be able to succeed. And as anyone who's played D&D can tell you, you don't always get nat 20s when you need them.
I would have failed. So pick which animal you want to turn me into.
Pretty much. The Summon Celestial I really liked also. Now, the reason why I chose Summon Celestial is because rulers in the Ptolemaic dynasty, and also from what I understand with some of the other Egyptian rulers, is that you took on the persona of a deity. And that's what Cleopatra did. She took, she called herself Isis II, I believe, because there was another Cleopatra who also took on the deity of Isis. So you call forth this spirit, and it comes in this angelic form, and it is an ally for you. So it also has, as you can see down here, hit points and modifiers and skills, and it can fly. It can fly, you know, so that's really a lot of fun. So it has a hit point, because this is at 5th level, of 40 for me. Yeah.
Cool.
So as long as it doesn't take too many hits, I can hold on to that celestial spirit. But once it runs out of those hit points, it's gone. And I don't get that power back until after a long rest. But it can also do multi-attacks, which I am learning is a really good thing. I thought that one of my characters had multi-attack and only had one attack. and I kept,
For Christina?
huh?
For
Yeah.
Christina?
Yeah, I made a slight little mistake there with Christina, but it's okay. But this one can make a number of attacks equal to half of the spell's level rounded down. So 5 divided by 2, 2.5, so you round down to 2. So it can make 2 attacks.
2 attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And looks like you can be, it looks like it can be an Avenger or a Defender. So an Avenger can be like an attacker, and a Defender is just what it sounds like. Like it's someone who's going to, like a celestial that is there to protect.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yes. So she's a lot of fun. I put her, I actually got her pretty high for her armor class.
For 17.
Yeah. Now because she's a rogue, I don't want to put her in heavy armor, because that actually defeats the whole purpose of having a rogue. So you don't want to put her into any heavy armor. So everything that she has as a weapon is a pretty light weapon, because I don't want that to interfere with her stealth, which is a plus 17. So I don't want that to mess with that. That modifier of plus 17 is awesome. That is insane. And I love it.
The Rogue Bard multi-class is very powerful for skill.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That is like,
that's one of those examples where 2 classes just work perfectly together. I did this one differently than I've done the others. I didn't even look at what matched what. I just picked a little from here and a little from there, and then just played with it without referring to that website that you told me about, the RPG spot. Yeah. This time I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do this straight off, you know, because I've been reading.
Sure. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm studying harder than I think I've studied for a lot of things, because it's so much information.
There's a lot of information.
It really is. And this is just one book. There's like, there's this one, Xander's.
Xanathar's Guide.
Right.
Yeah. The Dungeon Master's Guide.
Right. And then the Player's Handbook.
Adventurer's Guide, the Player's Handbook. Elemental Evil Player's Companion, which is where the Aarakocra, the bird people, come from. Yeah, there's a lot. And this is not even counting, like, this is the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. There have been several previous ones.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of material. There's a lot of lore too. There's a lot of stories and legends and novels.
Yeah, because like I was like, why are they calling this Tasha's Cauldron? And then you find out Tasha is a character and that she was raised by what did they say? I can't remember the name of this person that raised her. Who did they say it was?
Honestly,
Raised by Baba Yaga, mother of witches.
Oh my God, she was raised by the Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah, it does. Oh my gosh, this thing, like when I was looking up the artificer, they had a story of the gnome artificer V, and she's holding her can I do that right? She's holding her eldritch cannon and firing at somebody on top of a train.
Sweet.
Crap. I didn't know there were trains in D&D.
Depends. It depends because it depends on the DM too, because they can set their campaigns anywhere they wish, pretty much. Like Ethan's campaign with the circus, that is a homebrew campaign too. Like Ethan did most of the work with that, apparently.
Okay.
Tony does, who Ethan and I play with, along with Amalia and Sarah. Tony is our DM. He also homebrews a lot, so he's DM'd for a long time, and he's comfortable enough to come up with a lot of stuff on his own.
Wow.
And he's kept us busy for like 2.5 years. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah. There you go. You can keep it going for a while. I know one person, I think somebody told me that their dad has been playing it for like over 20 years with his group. Yeah, you can keep it going for a while.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Antony.
Yeah, sure. Let's check out Marcus Antonius, whom you, in your very comprehensive and amazing rundown, noted was essentially the husband consort lover of Cleopatra the Seventh for a while. I envisioned Marcus Antonius, or Mark Antony, as a soldier. He is a soldier of Rome who eventually got shoved into politics by virtue of serving with a prime general of the Roman Republic for as long as he did. He was basically one of Caesar's top lieutenants for years and years. I decided to make him a paladin, not specifically for any spiritual reason, but a specific subclass of paladin called that adheres to the oath of conquest, rule through fear. I also decided to make him lawful evil, which the alignment is interesting because that used to be in previous editions of D&D. Apparently, it used to be a much bigger deal. Like if a paladin acted outside of their alignments, they would be punished, and they'd have to do some atonement or whatever. Now it's mostly a bit of flavor. With the Conquest Paladin, they're all about battlefield control and intimidating and scaring the crap out of their enemies. Their Channel Divinity ability, which all paladins have once per long rest, you can use your Channel Divinity to exude a terrifying presence. As an action, you force each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you to make a whiz save. On a failed save, the creature becomes frightened of you for 1 minute. The frightened creature can repeat this saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect itself on a success. If something is frightened of you, it can't attack you.
Right.
So that's a way to control the battlefield. The other channel divinity is Guided Strike. You can use your channel divinity to strike with supernatural accuracy. When you make an attack roll, you can use your channel divinity to gain a +10 bonus to the roll. You make this choice after you see the roll, but before the DM says whether the attack hits or misses. Sometimes you just really have to hit something once, you know?
Yeah.
I decided to make him level 20, which you don't see here. Because again, he also was in soldiering and politics for
a very long time.
decades. So as a paladin, strength, constitution, and charisma are all important. All three of them are important. So I made the best of my limited ability score increases. Something as a variant human you can get is picking a feat. I decided to give him the resilient feat, meaning you are proficient in saving throws using a particular ability score starting at first level. So typically paladins are proficient in wisdom and charisma saving throws, meaning if Antony has to make a wisdom save, he can add +7 to his roll. So proficiency plus whiz. For charisma, he can add +9 to his roll. Proficiency plus charisma. With the additional con, he can add con saves cover some of the most debilitating effects in the game. So being proficient in con saves is actually pretty helpful, especially if you're a tank.
Yeah.
He's essentially a holy fighter. He's in heavy armor with a shield and a longsword and a bunch of javelins.
Yeah.
He's a tanky boy. Aura of Conquest. Starting at 7th level, you can constantly emanate a menacing aura when you're not incapacitated. If the creature is frightened of you, its speed is reduced to 0 while within the aura, and the creature takes psychic damage equal to half your paladin level if it starts its turn there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at 18th level, the range of this aura increases to 30 feet. So that's, yeah, paladin auras or something. As Chance is, that's why I'm kind of excited for Chance to really get up there. He's kind of our robo butler that I have decided to create in our circus campaign. I envision him as a cross between C-3PO and RoboCop.
Yeah.
He's an Oath of Redemption paladin, so he focuses on non-violent stuff. Scornful Rebuke, starting at 5th level. Those who dare to strike you are psychically punished for their audacity.
Yeah.
Whenever a creature hits you with an attack, that creature takes psychic damage equal to your charisma modifier, a minimum of 1, if you're not incapacitated. At 20th level, you gain the ability to harness extraordinary martial prowess. As an action, you can magically become an avatar of conquest, gaining the following benefits for 1 minute.
Oh, wow.
You have resistance to all damage. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can make 1 additional attack as part of that action. Your melee attacks score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest.
Yeah.
So it's not like you get 1 of those. You gain all 3 of those for a minute. That's 10 rounds of combat. Spells, mostly buffs. Bless, so you can add a little extra to a saving throw, add a d4. Compelled Duel, which forces an enemy to fight you and not your allies.
Okay.
Protection of evil and good. Protection from evil and good. Thunderous Smite. Chance hasn't had to smite that many people yet, but Smite is an extra damage dealing ability where when a paladin strikes someone, they can add some extra energy damage on top of that, thanks to their divine smite. certain smites can deal thunder damage and knock people prone. Certain smites can banish people.
Oh, wow.
Certain smites can blind people. Wrathful Smite makes you frightened. So there's some utility here. Mostly geared around fear.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, like Antony is a general
Right.
of Rome and later of Egypt.
Yeah.
Did he lose a lot of battles? Yes, he did. He ultimately likely commit suicide. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But he was also apparently a pretty skilled warrior.
Yeah.
And why not steer into that a little bit, using the intimidation factor that Rome likely brought with it.
Yeah. Well, he
not
would
just
have
with
to be
gold.
pretty skilled because he made it into his 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah. He made it at least into his 40s because she was like 39 when, yeah, so he had to have been about in his 40s. And again, it was, 30 BCE.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying the healthcare was bad, but I kind of like our healthcare.
Yeah. Drinking water instead of beer
Right.
all the time.
Right. Though,
However,
doesn't sound so bad.
there's water in it.
It does have water in it. All right. So that is our show for today. Yeah, it was a lot of information. That's what happens when you have, two informal educators geeking out over some history and some D&D. We'll be back next week to geek out a little bit more. We'll tell you later on who we're going to decide to geek out on, but we'll keep going through how to build your character, and hopefully you give some people some pretty cool ideas of how to make their character. All right, so we'll see you next week. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.